Everyone, welcome back to the next video. In this video I will show you how to do biometric authentication via iOS in Godot game engine. So we will be creating an iOS plugin to do biometric authentication. Now it will support both fingerprint as well as face authentication. Now I will be running my output on an iPad device, and iPad device does not support face authentication, it supports fingerprint, but it is the same for face authentication as well, so we don't have to write any extra bit of code. This is just a cheat sheet which I have created, so don't worry too much about it. So first, what you will need obviously a Mac OS, and you would require Xcode installed. I already have that installed from the Apple App Store. So you can go to this particular documentation. We will be making use of Swift Godot to create this iOS plugin. So you can just open this and it will help us, like it has given each and every step. So like all these steps are mapped in my cheat sheet as well, so don't get confused. So first we just have to open Xcode. I also have created an empty Godot folder. You can name the folder whatever you feel like. It's just that there will be multiple projects created, that's why I've created one parent folder. But if you don't want to create this parent folder, that's fine as well. So just open Xcode and just click on File, New, and here you will have to select Package. Let's just wait, and here you will have to select multi-platform library. Click next, and here I will just go to my Godot folder, and I will name it as my library only. You can change the name to whatever you feel like, but if you're doing this for the very first time, it's better you follow me because this name is very important and we will be using this name in lot other places as well. So I will just click on create. So it will create the project for us. So if you see the the documentation again, they have given the same steps. Now they tell us to add this dependency block, so I'll just copy these dependencies, and we have to add it after products, right? So I'll just come over here to package.swift. After products I'll just add this, and you have to do command S so to save it. Once you save it, here you can see it is automatically downloading the dependencies for us using Swift package manager, so it saves a lot of headache for us. Once that is done, we have to add this platform iOS version 17. So if I just scroll down in the documentation, here you can see they have added platform macOS, but I require iOS. So after this name I will just add this. Minimum, I have kept it as minimum deployment target for iOS is 17. I was facing a lot of issues for while compiling if I kept it as 15, that's why I've just updated it to 17. Okay, the next step is we have to add this type dynamic as well. Again, I'll just scroll down. So here you can see inside library name they have added this type dynamic, so I'll just add it over here as well. Then we need to add this dependency, so again I'll just copy this. If you go through the docs, here you can see they have added this dependency after target name. So after this target name, just add a comma and you can just paste this code. I'll just improve the indentation a little bit. I'll just select everything and I'll just do Control I, so it will improve the indentation. If you want, you can save it again. Now at the time of me recording this video, Swift Godot does not support Swift version 6, so I have to change this to 5.10. but before you change it to 5.10, it's better you check whether Swift Godot already supports Swift 6 or not. If it already supports, you don't have to make these changes. Once that is done, okay, I think that should be it. Then we'll have to go to my library.swift and write the required code. So here you can just go to, and here go to this particular file. Now I have already created one sample project for this, from which I will just copy the code, and I'll explain it to you, don't worry. So I'll just open this particular file. You don't have to do this, just copy this. Okay, now what you'll have to do, again come back to Xcode, and inside my library.swift I'll just paste this code. So first, you can just copy this code. So first I'll explain it to you. We have to import UIKit, then Swift Godot, and for biometric authentication we have to do import local authentication. If you're getting bunch of errors in Xcode, ignore that. Xcode does not play nicely with Swift Godot. Then this is boilerplate code which we have to write. So this should be your own library name. So I have written it as my library. Then I have annotated this as main actor, and this at the rate Godot as well for our class name. So again the class name should be my library only, and we are extending ref counted. I think this is for memory management, I'm not really sure. So this is annotated with @Godot because we need to call this file from GD script side as well. That's why GD script needs to know. Then this is part of signal. So I have two methods created inside this particular class. One to get the available metrics, biometrics, and second to actually do the authentication. So I'm using the same signal for both of this. If you want, you can create different signals as well. Then here firstly we initialize our LA context, local authentication context, and you need to specify a reason why you want to give it. I have just given it some random string, but you can change the string to whatever you feel like. Then I have created a method called get available biometrics and annotated with @callable. So with the help of this method we will get to know what biometric is available for the user's device. So here you can see we just do auth context.get evaluate policy device owner authentication with biometrics. Then we just do auth context.biometric type, and here if there is no biometric, then no biometric found. So here we, with the help of signal, I'm just sending data back to Godot side. For touch ID, I'm sending back fingerprint, face ID face, optic ID. I don't have never seen this part of any iOS device, but given that the switch case had it, that's why I have written this. And maybe in future they might implement it, and in case of default I'm just seeing an unknown error. Okay, now second method again I have created called authenticate and annotated with @callable. I have just using this, I'm running it on the main thread just to be on the safer side. Then here I have just created one variable just to check whether if there is any error or not. And here we just do auth context.can evaluate policy device owner authentication with biometrics. Don't forget the dot. And here we pass our auth error. Then we just evaluate the policy, pass our reason to it. If it is success, then I'm just emit a signal saying success. Okay, I don't think we require this main thread again. I'll just remove this. Okay, if success, we can just emit a signal saying success. In case of failure, again I'm using the same signal, but if you want you can use a different signal and pass the error message. Again here for auth error also I can just pass the signal with the error message. Okay, so that should be it according to me. Then we just have to open our terminal and we can just cd to our library. So I will just go to my Godot folder. This is my library. Okay, I'll just drag and drop it over here. I'll clear everything out. Then we need to, so we have done with, okay, so there is one more thing. What I'll do is I will open this entire Godot folder inside VS Code. I'll tell you why. So I'll just take this Godot folder, open this entire Godot folder in VS Code. You can use any text editor of your choice. If you are comfortable using Xcode also, you can continue that. We need to create a build.sh file, and I always mess it up while creating via Xcode. That's why I'm using VS Code for this. You don't have to use VS Code. You can use any text editor, whatever you're comfortable. So here is our library, right? And inside that we'll have to create a file called build.sh, and then we have to go to this particular URL. So I'll just open this URL. So this guy has already created this build.sh file. Again, shout out to this guy. Because of him I learned how to create iOS plugin with Swift for Godot game engine. So I'll just copy this entire piece of code. I'll just close this as well, and I will just paste it inside this build.sh file. Okay, now few things which we have to change. So first I'll just scroll up, and here first this should be your own library name. So my library name was just my library. So I'll just name it. And there is one more thing which I had to add, this skip macro validation as well, because when I was trying to compile it gave me an error, and that guy told me to add this. Even I am not sure why. So I'll just add this as well. Make sure there is no spaces after this ending slash, okay, backslash. Then okay, so this is done. Now we can go to our terminal. Firstly we'll have to copy this particular command and paste it over here. Once that is done, now I'm not planning to deploy this app to Apple App Store, so I can just generate the debug framework and get along. But if you are planning to deploy it to Apple App Store, you need to generate the release framework as well. So all you need to do, instead of debug, you will have to write release, but I'm not going to do that. I'm fine with debug framework as well. So I'll just paste this command over here. Now this will take a little bit of time, so let it do its thing. In the meantime, we can just open Godot game engine. At the time of me recording this video, I'm using Godot 4.3.0, but if there is some higher version of Godot, you should be fine as well. I don't think there will be any big changes as such. So I'll just click on this create button. I will browse to my Godot folder which I have created. I'll select the current folder. I'll just name it as my Godot project. Feel free to name it whatever you feel like. And I'll just click on create and edit. So let's just wait for this to finish. Okay, then you just go to project, export, add, iOS, click on fix import. Here you have to enter your App Store team ID. Now to get your App Store team ID, you can go to this particular URL. I will enter mine later on, but make sure you enter your App Store team ID now only, because otherwise you won't be able to export your project. And here you have to give some bundle identifier. So I will just give it as com.nobody.myawesomegame. It is typically bundle identifier is typically like com.your company name.your app name. I'll close this. Then I'll create a 2D scene, and here I will just create two buttons. I'll just duplicate this. I will just make it little bit big. So here is my second button, and here is my first button. I'll just move it little bit. Okay, and I'll also add one label just to show you guys the results. Okay, so here is my label as well, and I'll just display it over here. So I'll quickly save this, and I will also run it so that my root scene is selected. Okay, then I'll just quickly and give this label some text, get available biometrics. Okay, and for second I will just name it as authenticate. Save this as well. Then I will just select all three of this elements. I'll go to theme overrides. I'll just change the font size to maybe, I don't know, 30, I guess. Okay, I'll save it again, and here I will just click on this. I'll attach one script to it. I'll click on create. Then here again I'll just go back to my practice project which I had created and copy some code, because it's very difficult for me to remember all things. I'll just open our. So firstly we need to get hold of this particular library. So we have to create one variable for our library, so that's what we are doing over here. Then we also need to get hold of our label, so I'll just drag and drop it over here. So here is our label. Then inside on ready we need to initialize our library. So for that I can just copy this code and I will paste it over here. Okay, so here again, as you can see, this should be your own library name, and here is our signal. Again, this should be your own signal name. This also should be your own library name. Now we need to create this method. So this method will be called every single time. Sorry, this method will be called every single time once we try to send some signal from native iOS side to Godot side. So you can name it whatever you feel like, but I have named it as user detail signal. But yeah, so I'll just paste it over here. Now this should be happy as well. Now we will attach the pressed node for both of our buttons. I'll just click on connect. This is my second button. Again I'll click on pressed. I'll click on connect. Now what I'll do is I'll just copy this and I'll paste it over here, and I'll paste it over here as well. Okay, now we need to change the first method name. It was get available biometrics, right? I'll just change it over here. Second method name was authenticate. So this is done. Now again I'll just go back to my cheat sheet. I'll just close this. So we need to create a bin folder. So if you want, you can do it from Godot game engine as well. I'll just do it via VS Code. We have to create a bin folder inside our Godot project. So I'll just create the bin folder. Then we need to create a file name, whatever is your library name .gd extension. So I have created this file. Now for some reason I'm not able to open this file from Godot game engine. I think it doesn't support it. That's why I was using VS Code. Inside this .gd extension file we have to paste some code. So I'll just copy this code and I'll paste it over here. Okay, so this is done. That's why I was using VS Code. Okay, so I'll just close this. Now let's go back to our terminal. So here you can see our framework was also created. So what I can do is, uh, you have to go to your library, go to bin, go to iOS, copy this to. Go back to our Godot project, go to bin, and you have to paste it over here. Also, one more thing, inside my library.gd extension I'm using debug, because I have generated the debug framework. If you have generated release framework, you will have to write a release. Now we need to export our project. So first what I'll do is I'll just create one folder named iOS. You can name it whatever you feel like. It's just that once you export a project from Godot, iOS project from Godot, it creates a lot of files. So just to avoid confusion, I have just created a separate folder for that as well. Next, make sure you have saved your project again, just to be on the safer side. Then again click on project, export, click on export project, and I will just select my iOS folder which I have created, and I'll click on save. Now the exporting will take a little bit of time, so be patient. Once this is done, I'll come back. Okay, so my project was exported successfully. So here is my project. What you'll have to do is just go to your iOS folder and double click on this .xcode proj file which you see, and it will automatically open it inside Xcode. Now make sure you run this app on a real device. So I'll just run it. Don't run it on a simulator, it will not work for you. If like on simulator, you can use the face authentication feature as well, like you can simulate it, but unfortunately Godot project won't work on a simulator because of some graphics and all that, which I don't really understand. So I'll just run this project and show you guys the output. So here you can see that I'm mirroring my device. I think for the very first time it doesn't run properly. You have to run it again. I don't know why. Also, one more thing, like I told you, I have fingerprint authentication. I don't have face authentication, and fingerprint authentication on my iPad is a little bit finicky. Sometimes it throws me an error. It doesn't recognize my fingerprint properly. So we could face that issue. Just a heads up. But there is nothing wrong with my code. I have used the same code for face authentication on a real project, and it works perfectly fine. So yeah, just trust me on that. So let's just wait for this to boot up. Okay, thank God it worked on the first time. So I can click on this get available biometrics button, and here you can see it is telling me fingerprint is available. Then I can just click on authenticate. Now hopefully this works. I'm not really sure. Oh, thank God, I think it worked. But why is it not giving me success? Let me click on authenticate again. I'm not sure why it didn't send me a success message. Think it should have. Let me quickly check my library code. Yeah, I am emitting a signal saying success. Okay, let me just retry it one more time. Just close everything, open my Godot project, or maybe this is just one of those fingerprint bugs which I talked about. I am not really sure. Get available. So I'm getting fingerprint. Okay, so here it is asking me for a touch ID. So I have entered my touch ID. I'm not sure whether this was success or not. Why is this not working? Okay, let me check. Am I getting some logs? Caller thread can't call this function. I think these are like fake, like these are not related to my. I'll just close it one more time just to check if I'm getting some errors in console log. Okay, I need to run this again to see the logs. I think so it worked, but I'm not sure why I'm not able to get the signal back. Okay, I'll just delete all these logs. I'll click on get available biometric. I'm able to see fingerprint. I click on authenticate. Okay, I'm getting all this bunch of, I don't know what this is. Okay, I'll just click on okay. Okay, I'm not sure whether this is from, I think one more thing which I forgot. I think I forgot one thing is related to permission. Supporting files. I think so. The permission for fingerprint I have missing. Let me quickly check that and come back. Alright guys, so I have figured out the issue. So the issue was you will again have to go to your library. Sorry about this. So you'll have to go to your my library and make sure you add this dispatch queue.main.async. So it was the same code which I have removed. So make sure you add this bit of code, and for closing curly brace for this as well. Once you have done that, you will again have to run this particular command of build.sho iOS debug. Once that is successful, again you will have to go back to your bin folder, not sorry, not bin folder, go to your library, go to bin, go to iOS, and you will have to again paste this to copy this and paste it inside your Godot project over here. Okay, once that is done, you just have to click on again project, export your project again, and click on OK. Once your project is exported, you will have to run your project. So make sure again open that .xcode proj file inside xcode and run your project on iPad. Okay, and there is one more thing. Once you open this .xcode proj file, if you are trying to check for face authentication, you will have to go to the supporting files. You will have to right click on it, open as source code, and here scroll down, and here make sure where did it go? I did add it. Oh, I think it got lost, because every time you export your project, whatever changes you make inside this info.plist file will get lost. So here we need to add this face authentication permission as well. So just click enter before this dict as well as this plist ends. Here we need to add this face authentication permission, and over here you will have to paste this 2 lines of code. So make sure you add this 2 lines of code as well. So this one key ns face id usage description, and why your app requires this face id. So here you can enter your app name. So my awesome app would require face id, and also provide a reason why you require it. And I think by default there are these empty spaces. I'll just make the indentation a little bit proper, and you don't need to do this. So something like this looks okay. I'll just rerun this application. Now you might be wondering why my app did not crash when I showed you guys the output for the very first time. Like I mentioned, I was using fingerprint. I don't have face authentication, but for face authentication you would require this particular bit of thing as well. So that is also important. So let's just wait for this. Okay, I'm mirroring my device, so I'll just click on get available biometrics. Here it is fingerprint. Now again, I most of the times when I try to provide my fingerprint, it fails most of the time. I'll just click on authenticate. Hopefully this time it should succeed. Okay, here you can see it is telling me to try again. Okay, here you can see it failed. That's why we are getting this message biometry is locked out, locked out. But like I mentioned, this fingerprint does not is very finicky on my iPad device, but hopefully it will work fine for you. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.